Hi guys, I'm Oliver Lundy, and in this video I'm going to be doing a quick shoot review of a session that I did with a brand new, utterly gorgeous 911 GT3, how we went about it, what we shot, and how the results came out. So let's get cracking. So me and my good buddy Mark McGee went and shot this car. I'll put the link to his channel in the description. He's got an amazing channel full of loads of really good photography tips. And we went along, and the brief was that we're shooting this car. It's a brand new car, so that the owner can get some really nice quality prints at the point where they hand over the car. So the idea being that as a value add for the customer, they'll not only get the the normal handover for the car, but they'll also get some actual quality prints of their exact car in the exact spec and the color that they have, because obviously it's actually their car. So we're not looking for loads of photos. So normally in a photo shoot I would go for, I'd aim to sort of deliver between 10 and 20 final images, and that'd include a couple of hero shots, a lot of details, the wheels, the interior, that kind of stuff. But in this instance, we were thinking about having sort of 5 to 10 strong images that we can give to the dealership to then choose which ones they want to get printed. So we sort of had that in our mind. We had a couple of hours, and so and because of that and the fact that we ended up shooting it in the dark, I have to apologize, we don't actually have any video of the actual shoot, so I'm going to have to just talk you through what happened and show you the final images. So the limiting factors were we had to shoot it out of hours, partly because we can't disrupt the working day, but also because of scheduling. We can't take the car off site because it's brand new, so it's never been driven and it's not ready to be driven on the public roads yet. And also we don't want to drive a brand new car before the customer does. So it had to be shot on site, and it had to be shot in the evening. And so we decided to sort of take advantage of that and shoot it in a workshop where we can actually black out the entire space by turning the lights off. Now there are a few lights on in the background that we had to sort of get rid of in post, but for the most part it was completely pitch black, and that gave us the option to sort of light up only what we wanted to light up, which gave us some nice moody images at the end of it. So we decided pretty early on that we were going to go for a sort of dark theme, and that we would use various different pops of flash and some light painting in order to actually light the car and potentially add some color. We did a bit of experimenting, and we very quickly decided that we liked a red background, and the gray of the car sort of has a slight blue tinge to it. So we thought red and blue, that always looks strong, and then we'll use the darkness to kind of make the car pop out. So in terms of subject separation, we were sort of relying on the car being lit up well, and then the background either going to red or going into darkness, and that's going to make the car really pop off of the background. So the only limitation the other factor that we wanted to consider was the fact that whilst it was a very cool location, it was also quite busy, and there was quite a lot of clutter around, which we couldn't move, cars that were being taken apart, and lots of tools and racks and the things hanging down from the ceiling, all sorts of different stuff, because it is a working workshop. So we decided that to try and limit that, we would shoot angles that played as well as possible in that space, but also the decision to darken it down and shoot it at night was part of that. It would help with the avoidance of all the background clutter and everything else. So that was the thinking. And then in terms of angles, we knew that we definitely wanted kind of a front 3/4 hero shot. We wanted a head-on shot, a tail-on shot, a side profile shot, and a rear 3/4 to emphasize that rear wing. So we started off with the front 3/4, and we spent some time getting the right angle, and then also making sure that it was the right or the best location, sort of front to back, and then we added some extra wheels and tires just to fill in the frame and try and make it as balanced as possible. We then used a simple flash gun, like a speed light, behind the car with some red gel to light the rear, all the background, which gives that nice red colored cast. And then we used a combination of constant lights and light painting and long exposure light painting in order to get the car lit evenly and well. And then we used a combination of different exposures in order to build the final image. And as you can see from the final image, the car really pops off of the background. It's very, very obvious what the subject is, and the rest of the elements aren't too distracting. Yeah, really happy with how this one came out. In terms of the edit, didn't really have to do all that much. One of the great things about doing lighting really well is that you have to do a lot less editing, because it already looks pretty good straight out of camera. So just did my normal things of dodging and burning, removing distractions. I did add a little bit of extra pop into the red, so putting in some kind of afterglow type effects using some overlays, and just to brighten and add saturation to the reds. And that was pretty much it, just darkening down the foreground because the floor was quite bright and I didn't want that to detract away from the car. So other than that, it was a relatively simple edit. I'm really happy with how that one came out. And then we moved on to the vertical shot. So we used one of my tripods goes really tall. I think it goes up to about 7 feet. So used a ladder to actually compose the shot, and then a timer to actually take the shots. And we used, again, same method, so red gel speed light for the background and then some light painting for the foreground. But in this one, I knew that I wanted most of the car to be in shadow and for the front of the car to be sort of poking out of the shadows, with the rest of the car going into a silhouette, so you get that kind of iconic wing in the background, but in silhouette against the background. And again, really happy with how this one came out. Then we moved on to the rear 3/4 shot, which I've ended up actually doing a vertical crop on because I think it looked stronger. The original idea was to let the whole front of the car just go to darkness, which did look good, but it ended up looking unbalanced. So just a vertical crop and focusing on that nice tail light, which is the strip light, the whole strip light of the rear light, which I think really looks really cool, and again is red, so you get the nice red background, red car, red light on the car to complement each other. And it's cool that you've got some nice cars on the rack, on the ramps behind as well. So that's a nice little detail shot to sort of add to the collection. We then moved on to the rear profile shot. So the whole, looking at it from the side, we had to back up between two cars that were on ramps in order to get the right distance. But then it was a nice simple one, red light for the background again, and then light painted the car from above to get that kind of nice pool of light around the whole car. And you get that nice sort of even light over the whole car. And then we also did one final 3/4 shot, which was a Brennheiser. If you're not familiar with what a Brennheiser shot is, effectively it's a panoramic shot, but shot with a very shallow depth of field. So effectively you get a wider angle shot, but with shallower depth of field. I'm going to do a whole video on that as a method because it's a slightly more advanced concept. But what you end up with is a really nice wide but shallow depth of field shot, and that was mainly to focus on the kind of the rear of the car with that rear wing. And ended up being quite a lot of a darker edit, which I quite liked. So the overall collection, I was pretty happy with it. The shoot went well. I think we got quite a lot considering how much time we had to actually shoot, and I'm really excited to see how the actual physical prints come out. And I would say that it's definitely worth getting your work printed from time to time, not only because you'll notice things that you don't notice when you're actually looking at it on a screen, when you can sort of physically see it, and especially if you get them done bigger, it can be a good learning tool, but also just being able to put some of your work up on the wall and sort of see it and enjoy it, is another way of doing it. And it's especially good for clients. And a lot of the time you'll find that people don't really know that they want to print until they see it. Some people will, and they'll be like, I've got a space in my office, I want my car there. But a lot of the time it might be something that if you are doing private clients, then you can get some samples made up, and then when you've done your shoot, you can just show them. You say, look, this is the kind of thing that I could produce for you if you want. And quite often they'll not have realized or not even thought about the idea of getting prints done. So it's just another thing that you can do that adds to your offer as a photographer, and also might make you stand out a little bit from the crowd rather than just delivering the digitals. So sorry again for the lack of any kind of video from the actual session, but like I say, it was pretty much pitch black most of the time, and so it would have been tricky to get anything. And I just wanted to put something together to show you this shoot, because it was a really fun one, and still trying to work under the philosophy of done is better than perfect. Yeah, I'm trying to put out as much as I can. Apologies that there hasn't been that much recently. I've been super busy, but there's going to be more coming. And if you liked this and you want to see more behind the scenes stuff, or shoot reviews, or editing tips, or anything like that, then do let me know, where you're watching from. I'd love to find out where you guys are all from, and what you'd like to see from me in the future, whether that's editing tips or behind the scenes stuff or more in-depth tutorials or whatever it is. I've got a whole bunch planned, but I also want to do what you guys want me to do. So let me know, and do hit me up in the socials. If the best way to get in touch with me is probably via Instagram, and you can see all my work there, and I do try and respond to everyone who gets in touch, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Do subscribe, and catch you later.